What's going on, everybody? It is Tuesday night, 8 p.m. on the East Coast. It's March already. March 5th, 8 o'clock, March 5th, 2024. Thanks for joining me tonight. I am going solo. It occurred to me that it's been 3 years since I submitted my resignation in my, I put quotes, it absolutely was my career. My career job. I've continued in my career somewhat and started other careers, but I thought it was as good a time as any to look back on that a little bit. And then as I was writing the show today, I was like, Adam, you got 560 videos of what you've learned since you resigned. So I gave myself a little bit of a hard time about it, but I thought I would condense it down and, filter out the good, the bad, and the ugly, why I resigned, what I've learned, and what the future looks like. And before I go anywhere, get any announcements, anything I've done in the past 3 years has been dependent on customers and consumers. Any business, that's not groundbreaking business thought. I really couldn't think of a business that didn't need either a customer or a consumer. I'm sure it's out there. I mean, there's jobs, academia, you don't necessarily need that stuff. But what I'm trying to get to is this audience here, and I throw around the word community a lot, but this audience here has been at the core of anything I've been able to get done, anything I've been able to accomplish in the past 3 years. So whether you've simply tuned in anytime in the past 3 years, your first night tonight, bought a snake, never bought a snake, just that support has kept me going like you wouldn't believe. And that I can't put in words. So if I don't say anything else this show meaningful, there's that. And that is actually wasn't on my notes. That just sort of hit me right now. So thank you all very, very much for that. I'm going to try and put into words over the next 90 minutes what that stuff means to me and why it means so much to me. But just know that it does. So thank you is what I'll say. I also have to give a disclaimer. It's really hard for me to engage the camera solo and see the comments. So if I'm looking down, it's not because I'm not paying attention. It's because I'm trying to read the comments. And if I'm looking here and you happen to make a comment and I don't see it, I'll watch the replay and I will look at the comments. So thanks, everybody. Thanks for being here. A couple announcements before we jump in too far. First off, thanks for the kind words, Dale. I appreciate you, man. You were a big part of a couple of those years, keep me going, and you still are. So thank you so much, man. I appreciate you. Quentin, man, thanks for tuning in. We got Minnesotans in the audience now, man. That's how you start to know when you're like connecting, like when the locals are checking things out. So yeah, Quentin, my pleasure, man. It was cool to catch up. Sorry I had to cut it I was gonna say a little short. We had a good chat though, man. So thank you, man. What's going on, everybody? I could say thanks to everybody, and then I don't know. I try and get right to the content. It makes me anxious going through the names and the dead air, especially on a solo show. But I thank everybody for being here. And again, most of you all have very directly influenced me or helped me along the way, but if not, certainly indirectly, just giving me support. So a couple announcements. I'm on day like 56 of a clutch. So I'd like to wait till they pip to cut them. But, if we happen to get to, I don't know, I was going to say Friday, maybe Thursday. I don't know. Sometime this week, we're going to cut these things open and see what's up. Somebody asked me what my favorite or most anticipated clutch of the season is. And I was like, well, the next one in the incubator, duh, that's what the most anticipated clutch is. So this one's nothing too crazy, especially when, some of the breeders that are in the audience are here. But I got black pastel pied clutch coming up. So we'll see what we hit. Hopefully the odds are good to me. It was a visual to a het, so we'll see. I certainly could use the inventory. Man, let me tell you that the downside of doing a lot of sales is that inventory gets a little thin. I am going to be, people are going to be wondering what I'm doing at Tinley here in 2 weeks with what I got left in my inventory. But I'm going to go and I'm going to soldier on. So I don't know. We'll do a live. I'll probably do live on like Instagram cutting just because it was fun. It's been a little while since I've had a clutch, and it's going to be a while before I have. I don't know. It feels like a while. Another 6 weeks or something. I'll have some more. And then it's off to the races. I should have like 25, 30 clutches this year. So tomorrow night, I'm taking my son. I am giddy. I am excited. His very first concert. My son is 11. His name is Charlie. Charlie's 11. He and I are going to see FatherSon Trip. He's going to skip school the next day and everything, man. We're just going pure rock and roll here. Going to see Flogging Molly tomorrow night. And I don't know if he's going to enjoy the music or not. He told me the other day that the music in my snake room is so loud. And I was like, oh, wait till Wednesday night when you just blow your ears out from volume. But I didn't slack. I was like, you know what? You're getting the full experience, kid. I bought pit tickets. We'll be right up front for Flogging Molly tomorrow night. I'll be polishing up my Doc Martens and getting a haircut tomorrow, ready for the show. So that's tomorrow night. Thursday morning, Proper Cup of Joe will go on as scheduled. I should be in fine form after we have to drive to a town called Mankato. I've never even been there. It's an hour away. So hour drive, Flogging Molly, hour home, Proper Cup of Joe, 6:30 Central, 7:30 Eastern, following morning. So we're going to have some fun with that. Tinley's coming up in 2 weeks. I'll be at booth number 15. Basically what you're going to do is you're going to walk in the door. You're going to look to your left and you're going to walk as far as you possibly can and you'll get to me. There you go. Come see me at Tinley. I want to hang out. I got the patches. Will it focus? A little bit. No? Oh, yeah, there it is. I'll have the patches there for you. Come by the booth. New T-shirts. They're the same T-shirts, but they're new ones. They're in fully stocked on those. And as self-deprecating as I just was, I will have full inventory. I'll have some goods from Chris at B and S Reptilia. He will be there. He will not be there. His brand will be there. So come out, come hang out. I'm looking forward to seeing some old friends. And next week's show is going to be Jeremy Bod, Jeannie Bod, Steve Casino, Laura Casino. It's the Florida Caravan, the ones that are coming up. I mean, some of them bailed. I'm not going to say any names here in the audience for, Bod's Exotic Reptiles and Steve's Morphs, the guests next week's show. Little pre-Tinley fun. Post-Tinley will be Jeremy Warfel will be on having some fun with me. So that's coming up. Sunday, this past Sunday, I vended Ed and Emily from Snake Discovery Show. Spare me the outrage, okay? I vended their show in Hastings, Minnesota. And it was a good show. The pet market is strong. I think the breeder market is pretty strong and still coming around, but there's money to be made in pets. Certainly, like, it's a nice balance of, hey, I got this stock for the pet show and I got this stock for Tinley. It was very good. Very completely fine Sunday afternoon at the office. I would do that. Honestly, I do that every week. A hometown show, 7-hour show, in and out, and I'm back home for dinner. And I don't know if I got weird feedback one time about saying what I make at shows. So I don't know. Anyway, it was good enough that I would do it every weekend, put it that way. So anyway, get out there, guys, sell your stuff and have some fun with it. I'm going to put my headphones on. I took them off because I don't need to hear my guests, but now I can't hear myself. I'm not sure if I'm like yelling or not. So give me a second. Ooh, that's already there. Okay. Well, cool. I'll put my headphones on. I can hear myself now. Yeah, Rick was vending. Man, I saw something like 1,500 people through the gate somewhere. I don't know if that's true or not. I saw it on the internet, so who knows? But it's like it's a National Guard armory, like gymnasium. So I mean, I guess it's bigger than a basketball court, but not much. But it was a busy show, man. I was pleased with it. I was A-okay with that show. So anyhow, that's what's coming up. I will be after Tinley. I'll be in Green Bay, Wisconsin, the following weekend after Tinley. If luck is on my side, I'll have nothing to sell in Green Bay, and I'll just be hanging out at the casino behind my table. I'm sure I'll have something to sell in Green Bay, but I will see you there. 3 years ago, I quit my job, and I got to clarify a few things. I put my resignation in, and the point at that moment in time was not, I'm done with this. I'm going to breed ball pythons, and in 3 years, I'll still be at it. That was not the thought process. It became the thought process, and I'm pretty excited about that thought process, but that wasn't the thought process. So why did I quit my job? I resigned, and I've told the story many times, so I'm going to go kind of quickly on this one, but there were a couple converging circumstances that happened. One being we were coming out of the pandemic, and I was absolutely toast. Restaurant life in the pandemic was, professionally speaking, was terrible. I know people went through worse stuff. I know I wasn't the only one that suffered through the pandemic. I lived. I didn't. I did lose. There were some people I know that did not make it through like literally they died from COVID. But by and large, I'm sure that didn't have it the worst. But I was, like I say, I was absolutely toast in my own world, in my own head. I hated going to work. And I always loved it. That was the thing. I stayed in food and beverage so long because I loved it. So not only did I hate going to work, I was lost. All I knew was food and beverage. And then in my spare time, I knew music, and I gigged like crazy, but that was gone. So I was in this crazy place. Also, I think everybody's family life probably suffered during the pandemic. Yeah, all the uncertainty, the stress, blah, blah, blah. But the other thing too, even if there hadn't been the pandemic, my son was 9 years old by then. I was still working, 50 to 70 hours a week. Like a slow week was 50 hours. What a life, and food and beverage, I have a complicated relationship with. It paid me really well. It paid me well enough that I could quit and dream of breeding ball pythons. Let's just be clear about the whole thing. But I didn't want to, I didn't feel like I'd missed my son's youth, but I also knew that he was sort of in my mind halfway to moving out of the house. So I didn't want to miss out on that. And throw that on top of really everything I just said about hating my job and coming out of the pandemic. Okay, that's a lot of pressure. The real estate market was through the roof. The house we had bought the value was going through the roof because of the pandemic. Everybody wanted out of the cities and into rural areas in North Carolina. It was a great house. It was a good investment property. It had an apartment that could be rented out in the bottom. And in the resort property that we lived in, when I bought the house, that whole property, the whole resort didn't have internet. The property ran on satellite link, and we had, well, I say we, myself, the GM, the executives at the resort, our initiative had been to bring internet there. And thank God we did during the pandemic. It was a boom time for us. Everybody was coming there. So imagine what home prices were pre-pandemic, no internet, to home in the mountains with an apartment rental unit. Now there's internet, and everybody wants out of cities and wants to go to these rural places so they can work remotely. Admittedly, full transparency, cha-ching, big payday right there. So I had the payday. I had the windfall money. I hated what I was doing. I was worried about missing out on my son's future. And I just came home one day. I said, what else? What do we need to do? And Kelly was like, let's go. Oh, and we owned another house in Florida, not like our second home. It was actually a starter home that during the Great Recession we couldn't afford to sell, so we had become landlords. Well, that lease was up, so we downsized the house, we took the money, and we left. And when we asked ourselves, what are we going to do? The idea was, all right, let me take a stab at food and beverage consulting. My music network was very strong in Florida. That's where I'd been gigging for many years before North Carolina. And my food and beverage network was very, very strong. If the consulting and the music didn't work out, all right, I'll go back. The vice president of the PGA Tour that had hired me, 10 years before then was still there. I back into the PGA Tour, but I could get interviews. I would find a job. I had a good resume. That's still what I tell myself. I could get back. So we left. What happened then? I consulted and was lucky enough that the property in North Carolina wanted to keep me on. I still to this day consult for them, and they have been a godsend to me. They again have allowed me to take risks, as in, hey, think I can be a ball python breeder for mostly full-time work and expand revenue streams and blah, 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 that we'll talk about tonight. So that paid very, very, very well. It didn't pay nearly as well as my salary paid, but it paid off is what I was saying. The other thing that happened is that I gigged excuse my language, I gigged my ass off. I took every gig I could get, and I worked like crazy. And it was the answer to, well, if you can't make it, with consulting and this ball python thing, by the way, at that time, I had like 14 snakes. There was no way. I needed to buy myself like 2 years before I could ever even think of making some money on ball pythons. So, gigging music was my real safety net. And so I was playing like crazy, man. I was traveling all over the state. I was having a fun time. It was cool. All credit to Kelly. She's always been a very trusting wife, and I've never, jeopardized that. And likewise her to me. So anyway, I was playing music, consulting, going well. I made some pretty good money, ball python, relatively speaking, like relative to the hype. Like I only had I think 6 or 7 clutches that first year, but they sold like crazy in 6 weeks. And it was like pandemic money, So good. And I had some money in my pocket, and the rest is sort of history. So that's the stage. That pendulum started to swing. I'll give, it's funny. I used to, when I had people on the show and I would ask them, well, what year was that? And they're like, well, I think it, and I remember being like, how do you not know? These are momentous occasions. And now I'm like, what year was that? So I think I'm going to work backwards. I'll be able to figure this out. 2021, or is that 2020? 2021, I think I did about $1,700 in revenue. 2022, I did about $4,500 in revenue. No, that's wrong. Sooner than that. Let's go backwards. Last year, all right, so we were to Tarantino this thing. I'll just start at the end and we'll go back. 2023, I got to $54,000 in revenue last year. 2022, I had done like $17,000 in revenue. So 2021, the year that I quit, that was the $4,500 a year. So those are, and I'm sure if you're just starting out breeding and you're going, oh my God, 15 grand, I would kill for 15 grand in snakes. Absolutely. I'm with you. I get it. I remember that enthusiasm. It's not enough to replace a career though. So that was the trajectory. So it was really, in some ways, like not nearly enough to when people are like, man, you work a lot. Oh yeah, because I wasn't making any money, man. I had to consult. I had to take on another consulting clients. I was gigging. But 5,000, 15,000, 54,000. And I think I'll do, I'll do somewhere between 75 and 100 this year is my projection. Okay. Now we're starting to talk some money. So that's pretty good. One of the biggest things that I learned, and the reason I went through all that, and it's not to brag about money because that's revenue. You got costs, you got investments, you got to keep up with the double and the triple recessives. You got to try and make headway on people that have been at this 20 years. So the only way to do that is to spend an exorbitant amount of money and just buy up to what they're doing. So don't take that as, oh, Adam says it's tough and he thinks he's going to bring in 75 this year. No. That's 75 revenue. So, but that puts it all in some perspective. Okay. The thing that I learned and want to share on that is just to be transparent about the trajectory and kind of what the experience is and how long it takes. The other thing though, that I wrote down for the first bullet point of what I learned, nothing in my experience and in this whole saga, none of it has been black and white. None of it was turn this all the way off and turn this all the way on. It was not, I'm done with food and beverage and I'm nothing but ball pythons. To this day, that's still not the case. To this day, I still have the client in North Carolina and I spend somewhere between 1 and 2 hours every morning with them, working for them. So that's been a great hedge against risk. It's brought me a little bit of security. It doesn't pay a huge amount, but I can make the home loan payment. We have a little loan left on the house here. I can make that payment just from that money. And similarly with music, I was going to say I ticked down music. Last year, I did not tick down music. 2023 was a big year in music. 2024, I've not played any gigs yet. And I need to get a few gigs, but that's probably going to be third and fourth quarter. But the point that I don't want to get lost is nothing in my saga has been fully black and white binary on or off. It has been ramp one thing down, ramp another thing up. And if I were to give any advice to anybody, and I don't really believe in giving advice, I could share my experience rather than giving advice. It's that worked. That's been what's made it work. I never walked completely away from something. It was like I slowly walked away from one thing while I built the business of the other thing. And if you could find a way to do that, that worked for me. Now I see on Shark Tank where they ask people, well, you have to quit your job if you want me to invest in you. So maybe people would say, well, you didn't fully jump in, Adam. That's the problem. I just saw Rick's comment here. Thank you. Yeah, I am going to work my butt off to do that. But I was going to work my butt off to do, I would have taken home a little bit more on that. But I'm happy. We'll get to the happiness part of it. Thank you for I take that as a compliment, and I know who it's coming from. And that is a compliment coming from you, Rick. I know you work hard too. So nothing happened. I call it black and white, but nothing was on off. It was easing out of one while it's hard to say I eased into another. Financially, I eased into another. Everybody's like, man, Adam's Marshall is a very good friend. And I think he wouldn't care if I said this out loud. Marshall at NOCO out in Colorado there. He was like, man, this guy's killing it. And then he saw my episode of how much revenue I actually did one year. And he was like, you're not killing it. You're just working hard. I was like, I know. But I feel like I'm killing it sometimes. And I can't take that for granted. And where I'm at now, I feel very good about and happy. So things I've learned. I'll go through a laundry list of things that I've learned that I think are worth sharing. And again, a lot of these can be found in videos over the past, this whole YouTube experience has been it's kind of like a diary. I don't go back and watch it. Maybe I should. And it's overwhelming. I saw the numbers, like 568 videos. What the hell could I have been talking about for 568 videos? but nonetheless, the whole experience is there. And I'm sure there's places I've slipped up and things that I will look at now and cringe at. There, I've never deleted not a single video. So it's all there. You can go back and look at it. Different things I learned. I learned that being an entrepreneur so just to clarify, I'm fully 100% self-employed. I have been 100% self-employed since January 1st, 2023. I resigned from that job in 2021, 3 years ago. They created a remote position to keep me in-house, so to speak. And that was supposed to be for 60 to 90 days. And it's turned into 3 years, which is great for a consultant. It's fantastic. But at the end of 2022, HR and the GM talked to me and they said, you're not really an employee the way that you're working. You're much more of an independent contractor. You need to start your own business and we will hire you on a, contract 1099 basis. I said, yeah, that's great. So fully self-employed since January 1st of 2023. Self-employment comes with, I'm always balancing these two things. Fear of impending doom, which, you have to live, you have to eat, you have to keep the lights on. And as big as those numbers of top line revenue sound, let me tell you, by the time you get to the bottom of those numbers, there's not a whole lot left. And that's something I'm still kind of reckoning with right now. And I'll talk a little bit about that. But I do see a path forward. I see a strong path forward. Impending doom on one hand, and then what balances it is the relief of the dread I used to feel going into work. And again, I don't want to over dramatize the pandemic. We all lived through it. But that being the last memory of my career, no, thank you, man. That relief from that dread balances the impending doom feeling really, really nicely. What's up, Chris, man? Thank you, man. Thanks for the very kind words, man. Fun chatting the other night too. We'll that'll be cool. So I wrestle with those, and as a self-employed entrepreneur, I hear that a lot from people. Like, you have the ups of making a good sale, and then the downs of 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, no snake inquiries, 4 days. It's 3 weeks till my next show, and there's no inquiries. It's been 72 hours. Where's the inquiries? Where's the money? That comes a lot, man. So it messes with my head, and I figure out how to get through that. And honestly, how I get through that is just getting down to work. I've been putting a lot more time into getting my music chops back up, just because it's been 6 months since I played a gig. And I think I mentioned last episode or 2 episodes ago, this will be the first Paddy's Day in 17 years. I haven't had basically an all day gig. I don't have any gigs this year on that. So, where's the money going to come from? Well, at the end of the day, I can grab my guitar and I can go play, and I can make some money that way. So some of that relief, but really how I really balance that is putting the time into marketing, building my brand, reaching out to customers, putting in the work, and voila, sales come when you put in the work. So that is there, but the ups and downs they've taken a little bit of getting used to, for sure. I'll tell you that much. I heard a quote. This is another thing I've learned. I heard a quote, and I actually was talking with, I think I could say, I was talking with Jason on from Radass Designs. He's a Patreon member, and we do these one-on-one sessions in the Patreon. And I was talking to him today, and there's a saying that I heard that it just rings in my ears all the time. It says, you can do anything you want, but you can't do everything that you want. So I get so much feedback, and I have so much in my mind of, well, here's what I could do. Here's an idea. Here's how I could market. Here's a project I want to take on. I'm not talking breeding project, like a you know, I'm going to spray in insulation in the rodent shed. I could do any of those things, but rarely can I do all of them. So I'm in this constant prioritization of, okay, what are the needs versus what are the wants? What can I put off for a little bit and it not hurt me that bad? Because I have to get this stuff done here today. And some of those things pay money, like marketing, reaching out to customers, vending more shows. And some of the things just have to be done because they're the business standards. I got to clean the snakes. They got to feed the snakes. They can't, you know, that's at the core of it all. I can't get to making money without doing that other stuff. But that other stuff takes away from the time where I could be out there making money. So the constant battle of, you could do anything you want, but you can't do everything that you want, is a juggling act that it's still kind of new to me, and it's never going to go away. So I have to get to a point where it doesn't feel new and overwhelming. But there's days where that just feels like, it is overwhelming sometimes. And it makes you start making bad decisions. I'll sleep less because I want to work more, because I got to get everything done. And that, of course, leads to less productivity and poorer health and, you know, bad stuff. So you don't want that. So working through that, how do you do what you do? And it's led to me really working on scheduling, systems, processes, efficiencies, all that stuff that I talk about. So I have found that helps a whole lot and lets me just exhale and not be frantic and anxious sometimes. I use the word anxious and anxiety. I don't have crippling anxiety that's usually accompanied by either depression or addiction or both. So I don't mean it that way. And I say that because I've lost some friends to that combination of anxiety, depression, and addiction. So I'm a little bit sensitive to using that word, but in everyday life, I do get anxious, but not to that degree. So sorry, I needed to say that from my own mind. The other thing I've learned is that I like to overcommit. I want this to work so badly that I will do any and everything I can for customers, for potential customers, for this community. And what I find is I overextend myself, and I do that to the detriment of my own self, my own business. But I don't know the answer to that. I don't want to put up walls between myself and customers and consumers. So I'm just working through that balance. I don't think there's a manual on that. I take pride in what I'm doing with the customers, and it does convert to sales. And I know that sounds really transactional, but good relationships lead to really good things that aren't necessarily transactional up front. I don't want to get specific with some of these relationships behind the scenes. Put it this way, some of the relationships that you would think are some of the most transactional that I have in my business are actually just handshake agreements that there's really no agreement to, other than we're going to do good things for each other. And really, really good things have come from those. So there's that turn out really, really well, that a relationship. I'm a big believer in building relationships, and that's how you do it, is you spend time and you don't say no, and you take the phone calls and the interviews and all of that. So I'm figuring that out. I haven't quite figured out a good balance of not overcommitting, boundaries, that kind of stuff. It's still not it's not bad. It's not like I don't have, like say, I don't have that dread of walking into work every day. Maybe it's not a problem. I do overcommit though. I extend myself a little much. I could do well to sit on the couch with a beer and watch some Netflix every now and again. I'm on this Curb Your Enthusiasm kick lately, which is cutting into my sleep because I'll sit down and watch 3 episodes. That's a whole different story, a different topic. Yeah, that leads to some of the input and the boundaries. I knew that like taking a stab in the social media realm is inviting input, commentary, lots of interaction, et cetera, et cetera. I didn't really realize the magnitude of it. And I was trying to think today of how to express it. And I'm not going to name any names. I was talking to somebody pretty recently, and they're like, man, some people are just pissing me off in this world. And by this world, it was the ball python world. And I was just like, yeah, I get it. And I got thinking of how to like express that. And I got thinking, I was like, what if you had, and sorry, let me put a disclaimer. This isn't to say, stop talking to me. Stop telling me your thoughts. Come on with it. It's the world that I signed up for. I got to get over it. That's the end game here. Now, let me take you to the end game on that bullet point. So in your everyday life, if you go to the office and you're out and about, or I go to my restaurant, would have gone to my restaurant and went to work, you might have 10 conversations one-on-one throughout the day. That's not unheard of, right? 10 conversations, 10 different people. If 1 out of 10 of those people are like, oh, I know the answer, let me tell you what you should do, you might be like, oh, cool, they know the answer. You might be like, oh, this guy, I don't need the answer from this guy. And then you go on, and the other 9 you just talk to, and you just have a normal conversation. What if I say there's a problem on this episode? So that's 10% of people that want to, cure you. When 500 people see your episode and 10% of them want to cure you, you got 50 people firing off. Oh, here's what you do. I know what you do. This worked. This worked for me. This is what I do. I know the answer. You need to do this. And you're like, oh my gosh, people, like it really wasn't a problem to begin with. I'll get it figured out. I've got it. It's me. So I go through that sometimes. And I know that sounds harsh. And like I say, I'm not telling you stop talking to me. I'm trying to express transparently the skills that I've had to acquire and learn along the way to handle that, where I have to go, Adam, this is nothing but engagement from people that you have cultivated or have cultivated their friends to watch your show. It's nothing but people happy for you and interacting with you. And I've been pretty fortunate. There's very, very few of the, haters. I'm sure they're out there. A lot of the social media platforms filter them out. So I'm sure that they're out there, but I haven't gotten caught up in the drama. I'm not a headline on another podcast. I'm cursing myself, aren't I? This is all going to happen immediately. It's been a pretty healthy overall experience for me. But I did have to learn the skill of being like, okay, I had to take this as a positive thing, because in the past, when people want to give you feedback in a restaurant, oh, everybody's an expert on restaurants, right? Oh, we all eat, we all watch Food Network. Well, this isn't right. This is garbage. You're an idiot, blah, blah, blah. I don't have any of that. So it's wonderful. None of that's there. So it took me a little bit to let my guard down and just go, hit me. And I do read most of the comments. I read every bit of the chat on the Patreon group chat. Sometimes I have to step away just because I'm like, I'm off today. I'm done today. I'm shutting it down today. But when I thought of that 10% equation, 10 conversations with one person that tells you that, or one episode that 500 people see and then 50 people fire things at you, it took me a little while to get my head around that barrage of interaction. Yeah, there you go, Jessica. Yeah, you don't even pop up until I didn't even see you in the audience until there. Yeah, actually, I would be honored to be a headline on your podcast. There's some others. duck and take cover, right? Yeah, there we go. I let it out of the bag. Another thing I've learned, and I think we all know this, but it's still kind of hard to run up against, is nobody owes you anything. At the end of the day, you feel like you're doing good, and you feel like you're caring for a lot of other people, and you're doing all the stuff that I just talked about and lamented. And some days it doesn't come back to you. Some days it comes back to you in spades. And in general, it's come back to me tenfold in spades. But there are days, and they seem to coincide with other stressful days, maybe not even coincidentally. But at the end of the day, nobody owes you anything. The people that will give you something that can't be transactional either. And I'm trying to get to the point that I'm trying to make here. The point really is nobody owes you anything, but I don't mean it in that negative kind of way. But there are times where it's really great, but there's also times where it's lonely, and you're like, man, where's so-and-so? And you're like, oh, well, so-and-so's busy. They don't owe you anything. So, it's not like, again, it's not like the world has turned on me or anything. It's just, that's what I signed up for. Self-employment. I signed up to work in my basement with snakes. Some days I don't see other people. And I do miss some of that camaraderie from work. So again, I think we all know that nobody owes us anything, but sometimes it can weigh on me. Like there's days where I'm like, I just got to get out of this house, man. I got to go. We go down to the pub or walk down to a restaurant or just go for a walk in town. Like it's actually a really cool, like small town that has like a old school downtown and shops and boutiques and a coffee shop and bakery and all that kind of stuff. So like sometimes I'm just like, man, I got to get out. I'm going to go walk in town. So you got to rely on yourself. I talked to one of the first guests, and I was so excited when he came on the show a long time ago, was Kai from Lucas Landon. And I forget exactly how we landed there, but he said to me, don't think about what you can do when you're at your best. Think about what you are going to have to do when you're at your worst, i.e. you're sick and you have the flu. Well, who's going to clean your snakes? Who's going to feed them? If you got rodents, well, you're going to have to do that dirty work. And like, what can you get through when you're at your worst? And sometimes your worst is up here. Well, that's really what I'm getting at when I say nobody owes you anything. Like, what am I going to call somebody to come clean the rodents? And I'm all excited that I suddenly decided I'd start breeding. No, it's me. So that's taken a little bit. Like there's not a staff around me. No kidding. There's no call outs. Of course, there's no call outs. It's self-employment and business ownership. It gets a little more real when I'm doing it myself though, so, sorry, I get just distracted by the comments here. So, nobody owes you anything. That's a hard lesson that I had to learn. And that sounds like a little bit of a cynical downer thing. It's not, it's just a fact of the matter that you're going to have to make it work. And there's a reason I never opened my own restaurant. I would never put my own money into a restaurant. That's a worse idea than ball pythons, my friends. Let me tell you. But if I couldn't make it to work, there was a management team around me. We had other servers. I had staff. When I was a server, there was another server they could call. Somebody could come wash the dishes when I was a dishwasher, all that stuff. And as a one-man show, there's just not that. And again, I know everybody's going, that's sole proprietor. It says it right there. There you go. Welcome, Adam, to your world that you created. But it gets a little more real when you're in it. Competition and comparison. I don't know if I can look through it through a lens of or anything other than ball pythons and the reptile world that I'm in. But it feels like it's heightened in this world. Maybe it's not. Maybe coffee shop owners are just brutal in their podcasts to each other. I don't know. But the competition and comparison traps in the world of ball pythons are just brutal, man. I was talking with somebody the other day on the phone, And I just had to flat out stop and say to him, you will go absolutely crazy if you're starting out going, how am I ever going to do what I see just scrolling through Instagram? Whew. You'll go nuts on it. And that's without anybody, sniping at you. That's just looking at the world around you. So I've learned that you got to love what you're doing. You got to have thick skin, and you got to cultivate your own customers. There's a customer for every flavor out there. They might not have a lot of money. I liked the pet show the other day because I sold normals at retail. Woohoo! Massive victory, but that still doesn't pay very well. So there is an appetite for every snake out there. You're going to have to find the customer, cultivate them yourself. But you could start and you could get cash flow, and then you can work up to the next thing and buy the next best thing and keep doing that. And after a couple of years, you probably have some pretty nice stuff to show for it. But the competition and comparison, when I say competition, what I really mean is like the underhanded sniping, and nobody expects there not to be competition. I knew I didn't have a proprietary hold on fried chicken tenders and ranch. Like everybody does that. Of course I do. I know there's going to be competition. I know that. It just seems heightened. Man, we do a great job of shooting ourselves in the foot as an industry. And I don't know how to fix that other than just to be, just to be the best example I can be and get on with things. I do have a pretty good skill set for compartmentalizing things and just going on. So that I think has been helpful. But yeah, the competition and comparison. And then I don't know how to put this. I'll see if I can convey the thought right. I'm just going to wander around mentally for a minute, which maybe is what I've been doing the whole episode. But there's like this weird, it's not quite tribalism. It's almost like people collect other people. Like, oh, you're with so-and-so, so you must hate so-and-so. And it's bizarre. Again, I don't think other industries have that. Maybe they do, but there's some high school cliquey stuff sometimes, man. And I was really subjected to that at first. I think people have caught on that I'm just going to wander around and do my own thing. So they've kind of left me alone. But then I was wondering, like, wait a minute, we're like they trying to recruit me for like their little clique or troop or whatever, it's kind of weird. I don't think I'm explaining it exactly right. And it's probably heightened because of this whole podcast world that I stumbled into. I had no idea. I was watching, Chris, gosh, I forget, Hardwick and, Brian Barczyk when I started all this stuff. I didn't even know all these other podcasts were out there. And I was like, wow, this is some world that we're in here, Thankfully I have been, welcomed and there's almost 40 of you watching me just run my yapper alone, but many hundreds of you tune in each week and on the replays and all of that. So it's a very good world, and it's been wonderful for my brand. Really, it's been the linchpin for my brand, to be honest with you. I don't know that it would have all worked out to the point that it has, and it's still an ongoing experiment. Let's be clear, the jury's still out on, is this brilliant or is this absolutely idiotic, Adam? I was an English major for quite some time. There's a word, I mess up pronouncing it sometimes, but Quixotic, as in Don Quixote. Am I just tilting at windmills here and I haven't quite realized it? Or am I tilting at windmills just good enough that I can continue tilting at not actually a competition? Before I get into looking forward, is my favorite thing that I've learned. And my favorite thing that I've learned is, they say, in my opinion, snipers won't have the level of customer service you'll have. No. And I, the other thing too, is I just don't engage snipers. I've decided, haters, snipers, people pissed that I don't join their tribe and fealty and loyalty. Indifference kills those people. If I engage with them, we both look like crap. But if I don't engage with them and I'm just totally indifferent and keep on what I'm doing, they just give up. They just go find other people, and it's good. So yeah, I just get down to business and keep going. But thank you for those kind words. Yeah, Kai, don't type with your poo covered hands. I'm going to tell you my favorite thing I've learned here in just 1 second. I learned how to do this. Oh, where's it at? I learned how to do this. Look at this. So I can, because on these solo shows, all the sponsors get covered up. So there's REDLINE shipping. Use promo code proper5. You're going to get $5 off your next shipping label. Come on. If you don't know REDLINE yet, at least give them a shot. What are you doing if you haven't? Come on. You know this. You know this. Could do that. Shedtesting.com. That's Charlie at Gray Rider Reptiles. Use the promo code proper15 for 15% off of 2 orders of shed tests. Charlie didn't give me any fine print. I don't know what the limitations are on it. I wouldn't ask. I just send an order and put that promo code in there. 15% off of 2 orders. He just rolled out the VPI Xanthic and the DG tests, and Charlie is researching, finding his own tests now, creating his tests, and many more morphs, dominant recessive genes that can be tested for are coming. Check it out, and it's an all new website as well. Also, Brandon Nixon at Nixon Reptiles. That's the orange morphs. Brandon is working with Sunset, Ultramel, Monarch, and Hypo. His production skills are exquisite as well. Go check out Instagram. You're going to love his Instagram channel. Portuguese Pythons, working on really nice double, triple recessive projects. I have a 1.3 of their Pied Ultramel project stuff with a lot of codoms in there. I got Blackhead, Trick, Mojave, Pastel in the mix. So stay tuned. This time next year, I'll be anticipating the first clutch from those breedings. So go check out Portuguese Pythons. That's Danny and Renee Rocha out there in Chino, California. And I know they just recently had a clutch of super blackhead ultramels as well. Check that out. Ball Labs. That's Trevor in Aurora, Colorado. Trevor's a cool dude. He's been keeping reptiles for over 20 years, breeding ball pythons for 15, and just started rodent labs as well. He is a licensed rodent keeper dealer in Colorado. One of the state laws in Colorado is to sell rodents, you gotta have the license and inspection. He has it. He's doing it the right way. Go check him out. Trevor's got Puzzle, Ultramel, Clown, VPI Xanthic, Tri-Stripe, and don't tell anybody, Monsoon, Zebra, and Sunset projects as well. Last but not least, Chris at B and S Reptilia. Most importantly, my sidekick at Tinley. He really was an integral part in making the Proper Royals table at Tinley. Table 15, booth number 15, back left of the room, come to life. So hugely thankful for Chris at B and S Reptilia. Chris has ball pythons, blood pythons, boa constrictors, locality boas, colubrids, Pichu ophis, if you know what that means. He's your man. Also, he's the Pennsylvania distributor of the Chipper Coco. I'm going to leave the logos up. I'm just going to do a little split screen action here. Check out them. One thing, talk about things I've learned. Literally, those folks make my life feasible to where I can put so much effort into this show. August will be 3 years that this show has run every Tuesday night. And April, I've only ever missed one Tuesday night. One. Even when I was on vacation, I logged in, said hello, handed off to the guest hosts. But I've only ever missed one Tuesday night in that whole, or one episode per week. We had a couple Wednesday night episodes, but 1 week I didn't do the show. But otherwise, that's been going, and that takes a lot of stubborn dedication, just to be honest with you sometimes. All right, my favorite thing that I have learned in this whole experience is that business models evolve. And I'm just so happy and just so fortunate enough that I love figuring out business. That really makes me tick. The ball pythons are amazingly cool, and I love working with them, and I'm blessed with that. But they're also the vehicle to figuring out these business angles and how to make it work. If you had told me when I resigned 3 years ago that I would have this multi-headed monster of breeding ball pythons, this sort of nebulous social media brand thing that makes pretty decent money, Instagram, YouTube, Patreon, helping other people in their social media world that they're willing to pay me for their time. Even real estate. I work with a real estate agent on his marketing stuff. I'm a ball python breeder. And he's like, yeah, I know. If you could sell ball pythons in the internet, you can help me sell houses on the internet. I'm like, well, okay, all right, we'll try it. It's really, really amazing. And then throw on top of that rodents, and then all the little subsects of business in there, morph market, live shows, marketing to certain animals, to certain demographics. It's a blast. And I know that sounds psychotic probably, but I love it. I love figuring it out. I love crunching the numbers. I love trying to make accurate projections, learning when they're inaccurate, when they're wrong, and succeeding when they're right. And having the freedom to cook up my own ideas of how to expand business. I never know if people want these conversations attributed to them or not, so I'll leave this one a little bit private. And I've told the story once before, but I was talking to another breeder, and they said, well, I don't know what I would do with all my time if I went full-time at this, Adam. I can handle all the snakes that I have now. I make pretty good money at it. I like my job. I make a lot of money at my job. And I was like, well, first, maybe you don't need to quit. But second, I think what you would do with it is think of all the different ways that you could grow your business. Like, what if you did have an extra 40 to 50 hours a week? All right, we'll break that down. What if you had an extra 2 hours a day to work on marketing? Could you sell more snakes? I'm not saying this to that specific breeder. I'm just saying in general, this is how I think of my life now. But yeah, I bet I could sell more snakes if I marketed in that another 2 hours a day. Well, you got time for that now. Could you blow up your rodent operation so that you could dream of distributing to the local and regional market instead of just feeding your own animals? Yeah, I probably could do that, because that would only take, an hour a day, and then maybe 3 hours, one shot a week when I'm flipping everything. That's not that bad. That would fit in. My point being, the business model evolves, and I have the time in my day and in my life to dream and expand and ask, what am I doing well? What could I do better? And then go make those changes, go apply those ideas. Even at my best and my most creative freedom roles in leadership, I never had that kind of freedom, because even the great ideas I had to run by the GM, or I had to run by a board, or the GM and the board, or I had to present at department head meetings for peer review. And we go through all these academic things, which is great, but sometimes you just got to get down to business. It's cool. I enjoy it. Business models evolve. Opportunities come that you never would have known will be there. There's been a skill learning how to just take it, to be prepared to take advantage of opportunities that do come along. So that's probably my favorite thing. I'm sure I've missed a ton of things that I learned along the way, but that's a pretty good starting point, that whole segment there. And whatever I missed is in the prior videos that there's a long library of. What's going forward look like? What does the future look like? What does success look like? I talked about earlier that maybe there was a projection of doing $75,000 to $100,000 of revenue. That's a lot of snakes. That's a lot of sponsorships. That's a lot of rodents. That is a lot. It's a lot of all of it. And it's overwhelming if I just think about that number. Part of what I have to do is, no big insight here, figure out how to keep more of that in the house rather than going out in expenses. So some of it is investing that money to take on things that will make me more money. Buy another snake rack, buy another rodent rack. But you don't want to grow so fast that you work yourself, or you get yourself to a point, or evolve yourself to a point that you can't keep up, right? So there's that balance. Improving I think quality and caliber are two different things. You can have a very high quality normal. It's healthy, it's well fed, it's well started, it's well temperamented. It's great for a pet owner. It's perfect. That's great. At best, that's going to get you $40 on a Sunday afternoon at a local show. So that's quality. But caliber would be all of that stuff with the right genes, the right combos, to the right customers that have been. I hope nobody thinks that cultivated means manipulated. I don't mean that. I think cultivating a customer base is just like building loyalty in a restaurant. You give good service, you sell the right things to the right people because they'll enjoy it and they need it, not because you're being predatory and just trying to take advantage of them. You know, the restaurant analogy that I love is, if somebody orders a wonderful steak, of course I want to sell them a wonderful glass of wine. Yes, I want the revenue, but really I want them to have the full experience. Why are you going to spend $40 on a steak and then drink Coca-Cola with it? No, you need the red wine. You gotta enjoy it. Yeah, it's going to cost a couple bucks more, but you gotta have that. You could sell the right snake to the right person. You wouldn't sell a $2,000 snake to, you know, a 16-year-old first-time pet owner. But you might to somebody that tells you they've got, you know, a double visual at home, and you happen to have the perfect, you know, breaking, you know, up and coming combo in a visual het for them that's going to move them forward. So that's what I mean by cultivating the right clients and customers, the people that trust you, that you put the right thing in front of the people at the right time, at the right fair price, and they get their vision and their enjoyment and whatever they came for out of it. I mean by cultivating customers. So, yeah, it's probably was in my own head. Sorry, upstate New York Morph says, I think if you have a sales background, you understand what cultivate means, or at least I do. So I get you. Yeah, I was just saying, I was like, man, that sounds a little creepy when I keep saying I want to cultivate customer, like they're a row of corn that I'm just, you know, plowing the field for. So that's not the case. That's what I mean by cultivate customers. How things get, and that, you know, anxiety, panic feel that I feel sometimes, how that lifts and goes away, is going to be ensuring that my caliber of snakes and the customers that I'm cultivating increase. Hopefully they're never going to be perfectly aligned, but the more aligned they are, the more secure, the more money will stay in the house rather than having to go back into the business. And frankly, the better life is from a profitability and never stepping foot in a restaurant again to work in one, the better all of that looks. And that's like my guiding North Star. That is what I'm working at every day. Do I sell this to make money now, or do I hold it back because I need to improve the caliber of what I'll be producing in the future? That's on my mind when I make an investment of what snake do I buy? Where does it fit? You try and be really methodical. And we hear a lot, have a plan. You need this and that. I agree with that, but I also think you have to be open to when opportunities come your way. So when you do hear of an opportunity, well, where does that fit in? All right, would I buy it? If I buy it, does not make sense at this price, and blah, 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 all of those things. So increasing the caliber of the snakes I'm producing while increasing the cultivation of the customer that will buy those. And then in the background, the rodents are really going to help. They flatten that up and down sales curve to flat predictability, not flat, but, you know, smooths out the curve a little bit. And any economic situation benefits from predictability and stability. And moving rodents, I believe, will provide some of that stability. The neat thing about the rodents, just on a small snapshot so far, and it came out of numbers, so it probably sounds like BS, but I did do the math. I'm projecting this year for my costs to revenue on rodents to be about 25% cost. So that's a 75% margin on the rodents. Nice. Snakes, I'm projecting, excuse me, if the cost is 25% and the profit is 75%, you would say that's like a 300% margin. It's 3 times your cost. Whereas with snakes, I think I'm only going to clear about 30 cents on the dollar at best if I keep up kind of the pace I'm at right now. So 30% versus 300%. Okay, that's okay. So rodents pretty profitable. The brand revenue stuff really doesn't have a cost overhead. It has a lot of time, but it doesn't have a cost overhead. There's not. I don't have to feed the audience, Missouri 23% or Calmback 23% rodent food. The audience just shows up. They don't cost me anything. I got to show up. I got to do the work, but that doesn't have a cost. So like the brand income is like 100%. The rodents, I'm screwing up numbers here. Hang on. 100% stays in the house with the brand stuff. 75% of the revenue stays in the house with the rodents, and about 30% of the revenue stays in the house with the snakes. I mean, that simple math says, well, you should just become a social media influencer. 100% is going to stay in the house. Well, I don't know that I can produce enough quality content to ever make enough money for that to be the only thing I do. And I wouldn't want to. That would drive me absolutely bonkers. Similar with rodents. I could argue totally on rodents because, you figure it out. The demand's high. You can make the money. You know what you're doing. You just got to scale. Okay, it's not fulfilling. It's not that exciting. But all of that supporting the ball pythons and still getting to enjoy that world, to chase that dream and live that business model, that's what I would like. So I need to improve that 70-30 number on ball pythons. Whatever it takes to do that is, ethically, of course, but that's what I need to do. And the quickest way to do that and the most effective way to do that is to get more dollars per snake, which is increasing the caliber of the snake I'm producing and cultivating a clientele that will buy those snakes from me. And that is what the future looks like. That is that's my guiding light for, until some massive change comes that I don't think I foresee right now. I'm not looking at a different facility. I'm not looking at a new building. This is the space I have to work in and to flourish in and to maximize. It's not to say it won't ever be, but for right now, what's in the cards, this needs to be it. Again, you never know what opportunities will come. You never know what will force me out. Maybe I'm in a municipality. I'm within city limits. God forbid somebody gets a wild hair in their bonnet and decides that, rodents and ball pythons aren't cool in the city limits. That would change things a lot. So there are potential threats on the horizon, but they seem to be largely imagined right now rather than imminent. And I'd like to keep it that way. Hopefully, I am fully not licensed, but I'm fully registered as a business with Secretary of State of Minnesota. I pay my sales taxes every month. I pay my state income tax, my federal income tax. I'm above water. I'm legitimate with what I do. So hopefully those won't be the threats, but you never know when they come. That I could be looking for a building and having to pivot again. I hope not. I like this little world I've created and I want to maximize it and keep it up. I guess the last thing on the future is this crazy, ludicrous plan of 26 shows in a year. That's got to come down. It is inefficient. It is exhausting. It's taking away from my other work, i.e. here at the house, the facility. And it's hindering some opportunity for maybe some brand income, maybe some expanding Patreon offerings and that kind of thing. So it's necessary to do all those shows, both to get the exposure and get my brand out there and get people comfortable with me. It's also necessary to experience. The only way you're going to truly know a market is to go get in it and go experience it. And you got to do it more than once. You can't have a sample size of just one. So by this time next year, I'll have a far better feel of what makes sense to do, what is absolutely foolish for me to do. And I probably need to get that number down to like 18, 1.5 a month probably makes sense. And just do really great shows 1.5 times a month. And, you know, I don't know. I got to see. 26 a year ain't the answer though. I tell you that. It's fun. It is blazing speed, but it's breakneck speed, man. I never really quite feel caught up. So I got to figure that out. I don't have that answer yet, but I will though. I will find that answer. That's the looking forward. Wow. I'm looking at the comments here. Was the sunset debate tonight? Is that what I was up against? Jeez. I'm going to have to go watch it now just by Jen saying they were afraid of you. Your arguments are solid. Yeah, don't argue with Steven. Just nod and then behind his back disagree with him. That is, yeah, Jason's on it. Like there is something to the endless debate model. I find it rationally nuts, and then I find myself listening to it endlessly. And then I get in my car, and what am I listening to? ESPN Talk Radio. Yeah, I like Jessica's model, just the debate team model. You don't know what side you're going to argue. Just show up, and then we're going to tell you what you're going to argue. That is well, that's true. I did still have 40 of us here. How about that? Ta-da! And thank you. Actually, thank you. I could have been more gracious in accepting that compliment. That really ended my my topics. If you guys have questions or want to talk about anything, I'm in no rush, and nobody else is here that has to go anywhere. So, as far as a guest on the show, so let me know. I will sift through these comments here. Jessica, that's a good point too. Yeah, you do learn your own position better if you have to argue the other side. Yeah, the whole devil's advocate mentality. You definitely strengthen your own views by learning that. I don't think I want to rehash the sunset debate here. That is not what I want to do, I think. Steven says, oh yeah. Who else going to Tinley? Like put in a little thing. Don't brag. Just a yes or no. Or if you're watching on the replay in the comment section, let me know if you're going to Tinley so we can catch up. My schedule for Tinley, Steven, is I will arrive early afternoon on Friday. I will not be there Thursday night. I had to choose between getting there Thursday and leaving Sunday after vending all day and being exhausted all weekend and then having a 6 to 7 hour drive home, or get there Friday, but stay and sleep in and hit the road on Monday. And I chose I'm going to hit the road on Monday. Why was I limited to one of those two choices rather than not both? Well, because I'm cheap. And that was what I said to myself was I get 3 nights. You have to suffer at them. You can't ever, relax fully. And apparently that's how I live my life. Oh, nice. Jen's patches arrived. Cool. Yeah. Come by. The patches are the thing, man. Robin is, whoa. I haven't still quite figured out what he's going to get from it, because this is a hell of a lot of work he's put in. He can't be making that much on these bags, and I don't know that everybody's going to buy one of these bags. So I don't think he's getting rich on the bags, but I could be wrong. Maybe he's going to get filthy rich on the bags. But what a cool thing. What a cool industry initiative. Bring energy and discussion and excitement to the industry. I think it's cool. let's see. So Jen will be there. Steven will be there. Who else will we see? All right. Well, the three of us, we will hang out. I'm not going to use the morphs. I'm not a sash bag. I don't know. I don't think I never tried it. A lot of things I haven't tried. Maybe they're wonderful. Maybe it's great. No, I'm not going to. I did find other cool things to use the patches on. I stick them on my shoelaces. I stick them on my backpack, little zipper cloth thing. My winter hats, they stick on the forehead. I can have it right on the side there, kind of hip. Very merce. Yeah. I'd have to get skinny jeans and like roll up my cuffs, wouldn't I? Is that what I'd have to do if I had one of those bags? Am I looking to buy anything at Tinley? I don't think so. I will say the year has gone good enough. I mean, there's a little play money there. I don't think so though. I'll be vending by myself, so I won't be out and about. I did pick up a female gravel breeder from something or other. All I wanted was the gravel breeder part of it. But I picked up that girl from Tyler's Toxic Balls. So I will be picking her up. But otherwise I'm not, nothing imminent, I guess. Look, I don't know. I don't know what to make of the market. Jessica, by the way, fun show with your Canadian friend. I should know his name. He's very knowledgeable. I don't know his name. You guys, you were right though. Like, what is the market? What is the price? What are we going to see where? What have auctions done to, this is really going to be the first big show since these auctions have taken place. Like, and you made a good point too. Because it's listed on Morph Market, but hasn't sold yet. Is that actually the price? I don't know. So I'm not sure. I guess it's, I'm going to take a look. Yeah. I've been picking up some power behind the scenes. I've added, a red stripe clown trio to my, power, Ultramel Pied projects to my power with some visuals in there, breeding a clown axanthic this year to a whole bunch of females. So I'm not just slinging Enchi het clowns anymore. Let me tell you. I hope I don't have any clutches to show for it yet though. Yeah, I agree on the replacement morphs. Yeah, on the replacement males. That's a very good point. And I'm at the point where I'm done with some of my breeder males. So I will have breeder males at Tinley as well. Yeah, I think there's going to be very sweet deals at Tinley. Jessica, we should do a show or fight or thumb war or whatever over, sometimes the pet shows where people don't know about the market difficulty. They don't know about Morph Market auctions. They don't have the insight of a breeder culture at Tinley. They're just like, hey, that's a good looking snake. Seems to be at the right price. And I don't mean that, look, that they're saying that on $200, $300, $400 snakes. I couldn't let that, we would have to have a serious talk on anything more expensive than that. But some of these pet grade shows, especially like of all the pet shows I could do, Snake Discovery has to be the best pet show to do, right? Like what better pet ambassadors in the world, in our world, are there? But yeah, I think there's almost going to be better deals at Tinley than I would find at some other places, although not better than the auctions. Yeah. Powerful males. Yeah. If I found a, gangbuster, that's a weird word, gangbuster. If I found a pretty exciting male, I probably would check that out. It makes me sound so predatory. Naive buyer is the best buyer. I don't want to take advantage of people. Anyway, yeah, they don't know or care about the internal machinations. I'm with you. All right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, Keith made a good point. Are you talking about 99.99% of the people in the world? Right. Yeah, exactly. What's it worth? What's the price of the value of the animal? What the consumer will pay for it? Yeah, you're right. I've probably benefited from that. So, all right, guys, come see me at Tinley. Come give me all sorts of feedback, solve my problems. Thank you all. Cynicism, joking, sarcasm aside, thank you so much. You guys mean the world to me. This has become a really special place, both Tuesday nights, but also chatting, hanging out with people throughout the day. Probably part of where I could get more efficient and do more business and have more time in my life is getting off of Instagram and stopping talking with people sometimes. But I don't think I'm going to do that. So thank you, everybody, so much. Thanks for these 3 years. Knock on wood, and the universe and God and karma and all those other good things, as well as the snake odds, will me to be here. And I work hard enough and stubbornly enough. I'll see you in another 3 years. Between now and then, I'll see you on Tuesday nights. Thursday morning, 7:30. Forgive my voice. It'll be shot because tomorrow night I go see Flogging Molly with my son, Charlie, his first concert. Life is good, and I'm thankful. I'm thankful for you all. Next week, Bod's Exotic Reptiles, Steve's Morphs, little pre-Tinley, Florida Boys Connection show. And then I'll see you at Tinley. Thank you very, very much, everybody. I appreciate you all. All gratitude, full appreciation. Thanks for this cool little life I'm leading. Cheers. See you soon.